Orasutairu, a Pokemon fanfiction by Sanin_Saiyajin. Ash slowly stirred his eyes awake as he heard noises around him. He opened his eyes and noticed all his Pokemon sprawled on the ground. His eyes widened and he got to his feet as fast as he could and saw a figure standing in front of him with its palm stretched towards him. The figure was a bipedal, humanoid Pokemon with some feline features. It was gray with a long, purple tail. On top of its head were two short, blunt horns, and it had purple eyes. A tube extended from the back of its skull to the top of its spine, bypassing its neck. It had a defined chest and shoulders, which resembled a breastplate. The 3 digits on each hand and foot had spherical tips. Its tail was thick at the base but thin before ending in a small bulb. Ash was baffled at this strange Pokemon and felt himself gawking at it. "Who are you?" Ash questioned as he eyed the Pokemon carefully. "Who I am, is none of your concern," the Pokemon said as he made his way toward Ash. Charizard saw this and his instincts immediately told him to protect his trainer. He pushed himself to his feet and fired the strongest dragon pulse he could muster towards the Pokemon. The mysterious Pokemon did not even look at the attack and simply raised his hands towards it, stopping it completely in its tracks. "Who are you?" the Pokemon asked Ash, who frowned in response. "I'll give you your answer if you give me mine," Ash said, and Mewtwo simply turned away. "I do not need to agree with you. I know who you are, I know everything about you," the Pokemon answered, speaking in a superior tone as he started flying. "But I will still ask, who are you?" the Pokemon questioned, and Ash frowned. "I already told you the condition. You tell me who, no, what you are first." The Pokemon chuckled with a hollow tune and answered. "I am Mewtwo, the strongest being in existence. Now, you answer me," Mewtwo said as he stopped levitating and landed on the ground smoothly. Ash's Pokemon that were lying on the ground looked at the Pokemon helplessly as he conversed with their trainer. They noticed the power difference between the Pokemon and them. "Ash, Ketchum," Ash simply said, and Mewtwo looked at him with a look of indifference. "Ash Ketchum, you intrigue me," Mewtwo said as he looked around him with his head raised. "Look around. All these creatures lying around here. Helplessly struggling, weakness at its prime," Mewtwo said as he pointed towards Ash's Pokemon. Ash frowned as he heard Mewtwo belittle his Pokemon. "This psychic energy is so strong. I can barely move," Lucario thought with a frown. Mewtwo had pushed them to their feet just by using his psychic powers. "What great power! What do you want from me?" Ash questioned, and Mewtwo placed his arm in front of him and flexed his fingers while looking at Ash intently. "Your Pokemon are pathetic, why don't you discard them to get stronger and mightier Pokemons?" Mewtwo questioned, making Ash scowl. "Say one bad thing about my Pokemon and I will make sure you regret it," Ash threatened with a strong glare directed towards the powerful being. Mewtwo gave him an amused look and mocked, "And how are you going to accomplish such a feat?" "Let me humor you," Mewtwo said and opened his arm while dropping his guard. "Your Pokemon are weak. Now, try to harm me for saying that." Mewtwo smirked, making Ash grit his teeth. "Nightshade," Ash whispered, and Ghastly came out of his hiding, firing a Nightshade at Mewtwo. Mewtwo simply grunted and waved his hand, knocking away the attack with his psychic energy. "You believe this puny insect can touch me? Let alone harm me?" Mewtwo questioned as he fired the Nightshade back at Ghastly, but this time, the attack was 4 times more powerful than the first attack and it instantly knocked out Ghastly. Ash adopted a shocked look and gulped. "What do you want from me?" "I believe I can answer your question better if I do this," Mewtwo said as he locked Ash with his psychic energy and slowly approached him. All of Ash's Pokemon, seeing this, tried to break out from the hold to protect Ash, but it was just too powerful to break. They felt devastated seeing their trainer in potential danger, and knowing that they had no power to save him felt worse. "What?" Mewtwo started. "I want is," he said as he neared his palm towards Ash, "this." Mewtwo completed as he touched one of Ash's Pokeball and let himself get sucked into it without resisting. Ash and his Pokemon looked at the scene dumbfounded. Ash then released Mewtwo right away. As he saw Mewtwo materialize in front of him, he shot him a confused look. "Why did you do that?" Ash questioned, and Mewtwo shrugged his shoulder. "I want to experience what you are experiencing," Mewtwo replied and turned away from Ash. 1 year, I give you 1 year to prove to me the humans' worth and why I shouldn't destroy humanity, Mewtwo said, and Ash gulped. Destroy humanity? I have been with Giovanni for almost a year, and all I experience with him is the cruel side of humanity. If you, Ash Ketchum, manage to show me the good side of humanity, I will be willing to let all of you live. Mewtwo said and recalled himself into the Pokeball. Ash looked at the Pokeball and frowned. He had so many questions left unanswered. Ash tried to release Mewtwo from the Pokeball but it didn't open. Instead, the Pokeball started glowing and changed completely in color. Before, the Pokeball was the standard red and white, but now, it was a pure gold Pokeball with 2 letters, M2 inches traced on it. Hey, come out. I have many questions. Why me? Why did you choose me? Are you listening? Hey. Ash growled out at the Pokeball but failed to get a response. He sighed and placed the Pokeball inside his bag and went to tend his Pokemon. All of them were fine except Ghastly, who took the full brunt of Mewtwo's attack. Nothing a good night's sleep can't fix, Ash thought. While Ash was tending his Pokemons, one thought was running through his mind all the time. What is happening? The trek from the gate of Mt. Moon to the outskirts of Pewter City was uneventful. Ash and his Pokemons took only 1 week to pass through the whole forest. The forest in their way had no Pokemon that caught Ash's interest, so he left them alone. On the way, Ash met some trainers who he fought with using Rhyhorn and Bulbasaur. They showed great progress during the battles. Ash noticed that Bulbasaur was pushing himself too hard every time they trained, which made Ash proud. Rhyhorn seemed to be growing along just fine. They seemed to be very interested in fighting and would go all out in all the fights. He seemed to be eager to fight other Pokemon, which made Ash kind of worried for his psyche. Otherwise, everything was fine with both Bulbasaur and Rhyhorn. Ash looked over his shoulder and saw Pikachu nibbling on something and let out a sweat drop. Pikachu, you really gotta let go of your addiction to ketchup. Ash chuckled at Pikachu, making him whine in protest, which made Ash let out a full-blown laughter. Suddenly, Ash found himself standing on the top of a cliff overlooking the beautiful city of rock, Pewter. He looked at the scenery and smiled. His journey was at the final stage and he couldn't be more proud of how far he and his Pokemon had come. He reflected upon his journey, making him smile. Ash remembered all the laughters he had with his Pokemon when he had food with them. Ash closed his eye and reminded himself of how hard all his Pokemon worked to become stronger. To fulfill my dream, Ash thought. All of his Pokemon far exceeded his expectations. Ash wanted to have a balanced and firm team ready to tackle any challenges, but what he got in return was a family he would never forsake for anything. Ash walked back towards a tree and released all his Pokemon. After the encounter with Mewtwo, he never came out of his Pokeball even once till now, and Ash simply decided to leave Mewtwo in his own space without troubling him. With a roar, Charizard announced his presence, followed by Lucario, Ghastly, Bulbasaur and Rhyhorn. They looked at their trainer, ready for whatever task was to be assigned to them. What they didn't expect was to be suddenly hugged together by an overly happy Ash. Not expecting the sudden show of affection, the Pokemon stood there shocked before slowly feeling all warm under his embrace as they hugged him back. Thank you, guys. Nothing more was said, and his Pokemon didn't need anything extra. Ash finally let go of his Pokemon, mentally making a note to thank his Pokemon who were back at the Coral when he first released them. There's Pewter, Ash started by pointing at the city below them. Let's defeat their gym like we planned to do from the first day we set our foot out, Ash said, making his Pokemon nod their heads with determined looks on their faces. Seeing Ash take out their Pokeball to recall them, Lucario said that he wanted to walk for a while and Ash had no objection to it. Master, what is your goal after we win the league? Lucario questioned Ash, making him rub his head in confusion. What will he do after winning the league? Maybe try for Elite Four. Settle down. Many things came to Ash's mind, but at last, he shrugged. We'll decide when the time comes, Ash said, and Lucario nodded with a satisfied look. He didn't ask the question to get a specific answer, he asked because he wanted to know if Ash trusted them. He knowingly asked Ash what they will do after they won the league, not if they won the league. The fact that Ash didn't register the chances of losing showed the amount of trust Ash had in him and his companions, which filled Lucario's heart with immense joy. Lucario saw the trust Ash had in them and he didn't plan on breaking that trust. Ash walked to the Pokemon Center and got his Pokemon treated before walking out of the place to look for the gym. Finding the gym was relatively easy considering the signs all across the place pointing towards the it. Ash looked at Lucario and smirked. After the previous leader Brock left his gym leader position, the new leader managed to rise the position of cuter gym from weakest to the second strongest gym across Kanto, Ash informed, making Lucario look at the gym with a scowl. Do you think Bulbasaur and Rhyhorn are ready to face such an opponent? Lucario questioned, making Ash smile at him. I trust them, Ash said, making Lucario smile. If you say so, master. With that, the duo along with Pikachu walked into the large gym with a confident aura. Ash walked into the gym and saw a man in his late 40s sitting on a giant rock on the other side of the gym. Welcome, challenger, the name's Flintstone. The gym leader greeted, making Ash nod at him. I am Ash Ketchum and I came here for the gym badge. Ash declared, making Flint smirk at him. Then come take it from me, Flint said, removing a Pokeball from his belt. 3-on-3, standard league rules. You ready? Flint questioned, making Ash smirk at him. Ready when you are, Ash said, readying Rhyhorn's Pokeball. White Lucario. It is the first time I am seeing such an exotic Pokemon. Flint thought with an impressed look. But ignoring all this, he threw his Pokeball into the arena while shouting. Go! Raiden. The first Pokemon was revealed, making Ash gulp. He quickly strengthened his resolve and shook his head. Okay, Rhyhorn. I choose you. Ash released his behemoth, making Flint frown at him. After seeing that peculiar Lucario next to Ash, Flint had a guess who the challenger was. He knew not to underestimate this certain trainer, but at the same time, Flint's mind subconsciously made him think that the challenger in front of him wasn't up to match. Rhyhorn, Earthquake. Ash commanded and Flint grunted, show him how it's done. The gap in evolution was shown, seeing how Raiden easily overpowered Rhyhorn. Ash kept a neutral look as he looked for any weakness in the behemoth he was facing. Rhyhorn, take down, Ash commanded, and Rhyhorn started running towards the older Pokemon who stood its ground. The older Pokemon stopped Rhyhorn in his tracks, making Ash's eyes widen. The gap in strength was too high. He made a mental note not to underestimate the power of evolution the next time he fought. Flamethrower. Ash commanded with a serious look and saw Rhyhorn spit a large wave of super hot flames directly into Raiden's face. The attack managed to weaken Raiden considerably. Ash saw the worried look on Flint's face and decided to not take any chances. Earthquake. Ash muttered and watched with bated breath as the ground beneath Raiden tore apart, leaving creating a miniature fissure where Raiden fell. Ash saw the opportunity and quickly commanded Rhyhorn to use a final takedown, which successfully knocked Raiden down. Ash looked at the swirling eyes of Raiden with a mix of disbelief. Such massive, extraordinary, out-of-the-world luck. Ash muttered in his thoughts, then laughed silently to himself. Flint sat in his position looking at his Pokemon with a shocked look. The kid, he saw an opportunity to finish the battle and acted on it instantly. I underestimated him severely, Flint thought with a scowl and got up from his position. Time to take the youngster in front of him seriously. Ash Ketchum, I've underestimated you and I deeply regret that, but I won't repeat the same mistake twice. Flint smirked and readied his next Pokeball. Go, Golem, Flint shouted, releasing his second Pokemon. Ash looked at the Pokemon and recalled Rhyhorn. After whispering a thank you, he released Bulbasaur, who came out with an excited look on his face, ready to face any challenge. Ash looked at his Pokemon and smirked. Bulbasaur had only been with Ash for a few weeks, but during the week, he noticed a very peculiar trait in Bulbasaur, a trait he saw only among a very few of his Pokemon. Bulbasaur, like Lucario and Pikachu, seemed to grow in strength much faster than other Pokemon. Naturally, Bulbasaur was very strong when Ash caught him first, but after training with Bulbasaur for a while, he seemed to grow leaps and bounds within a short period. After every battle, after every training session, Bulbasaur's growth was very visible. And Ash knew exactly how to exploit it. Now, facing a Golem, Ash knew that Bulbasaur had a very high chance of scoring a victory without many drawbacks from their side. So, without any warning, Ash started, Razor Leaf. With the command being said, Bulbasaur fired off a torrent of razor-sharp leaves at the rock type. Flint seemed to have a command as Golem started rolling around on the ground to dodge the leaves. And Ash was having none of it. Bulbasaur, Vine Whip to stop the rollout. Ash commanded and Bulbasaur shot two vines to stop the rollout, but it didn't seem to work as Golem continued rolling. Suddenly, Golem changed its course and started rolling towards Bulbasaur to hit him. Dodge and use Wine Whip to push Golem's rollout away. Ash commanded and Bulbasaur did as told. Right when Golem reached Bulbasaur, he dodged and used his Wine Whip from behind to boost speed in his rollout. The sudden increase in speed made Golem go off track for a moment before setting back on the right track. But the single moment was all Ash needed. Power Whip. As soon as Ash caught Bulbasaur, he let him work on mastering his old moves. After mastering his old set of moves, Ash decided that instead of learning new moves that will take more time and energy in learning, why not learn moves that are simply a higher and stronger version of their old moves, so Ash and Bulbasaur set out to upgrade his older moves into their stronger versions respectively. Seems like it worked as Golem was struck by the whip and was sent skidding through the arena. Flint grunted and said, "Try to get up, Golem, and use Earthquake." What Flint didn't anticipate was a little seed that came flying and sticking right at Golem's forehead. The seed then sprouted vines and completely covered Golem, making Flint adopt a worried look. "Try to get out of it," he said worriedly, which turned into horror as he saw Bulbasaur powering up a solar beam in his bud. "Quick Golem, free yourself from the leech seed fast," Flint pleaded, but he was answered by a loud cry from Golem as he was affected by the leech seed draining power. "Release it," Ash calmly said, and watched as Bulbasaur fired the powerful solar beam right into Golem's weakened body. Golem was sent flying across the field, making Ash adopt a pitying look. That ought to hurt. A lot. Smoke and dust covered the area where Golem was sent flying across, but everyone knew what the outcome would be. As the dust cleared, Golem was seen fainted on the ground. Flint took a deep sigh and recalled his fallen Pokémon before looking at Ash with a small smirk. "You're strong, Ash Ketchum. You're worthy of the badge, I can see that, but let's see if you can pass the final challenge," Flint said as he released his final Pokémon with a small confident smirk. The Pokémon came out with a roar, making Ash gulp. "What Pokémon is that? I never saw it when Professor Oak taught me," Ash said, looking at the Pokémon with an incredulous look. "Judging from your look, you probably don't know what Pokémon this is. Let me tell you, it's Steelix, Onix's evolved form. They aren't common in Kanto, so you probably never saw it," Flint informs, making Ash nod his head. "Makes sense. I know of the Pokémon in the Kanto region and the starter Pokémon across the world, but it seems my knowledge is limited only to that," Ash mused slowly. "Master, if you may," Lucario said, making Ash smile. It had been a while since he and Lucario worked together, and Ash was certainly excited about the battle. "Sure." With that, Lucario slowly walked towards the arena with a confident aura surrounding him. "I have a strange feeling that this Lucario is very strong," Flint thought with a serious look. He saw Lucario look at Steelix with a challenging look and gritted his teeth. "He's waiting for us to make the first move." Flint glanced at Ash and saw the same expression on his face too. "Kids these days, so nerve-wracking," Flint commented while wiping his brow with a handkerchief. "So be it. Steelix, Firefang." Flint started the match with the powerful fire-type move. Just when Steelix was about to bite onto Lucario, he shimmered out of existence and appeared at the other side of the arena. "Quick attack," Flint thought with a frown. "Rock throw." But the rocks never made contact with Lucario, who simply danced around the field, dodging the rocks effortlessly. "The power gap is too high." After our battle with Giovanni, Lucario has been training relentlessly for the past few weeks. Moreover, after Mewtwo defeated all of them without effort, Lucario's pride was hurt and he took training even more seriously. "There's no way Steelix can beat him," Ash thought with a proud look. "Lucario, let's end this." Extreme speed and fire punch, Ash said, and Lucario ran towards Steelix with a bored look. Flint looked at the Pokémon with a worried look and shouted at Steelix, "Dodge the attack no matter what." Steelix heard his trainer and tried going underground to dodge the fire punch that was coming his way, but he was too late. The attack struck right at his face, knocking him out instantly. Lucario walked towards Ash and smirked. "Mission accomplished," Lucario said, and Ash chuckled. "Indeed." Pikachu showed his approval of the win with a thumbs up. And with that, the trainer and Pokémon trio walked towards the gym leader, who was recalling his Pokémon. "Nice match, Ash Ketchum. My Pokémon were no match for you," Flint praised, and Ash rubbed his head with a grin. "If you had set out Lucario from the start, you would have won the battle effortlessly," Flint said, and Ash replied, but my other Pokémon won't have gotten any experience, Ash said, and Flint nodded his head with an impressed look. A smart decision indeed. I saw some trainers who use only one Pokémon their whole journey and face devastating defeat in the league. Training all of your Pokémon to their full potential is a very nice foundation to become a great trainer, Flint said, and Ash agreed with Flint completely. But, without further delay, here is the gym badge, the Boulder badge, Flint said, handing Ash the prestigious award. Thanks, Ash said, smiling as he took the badge into his hands. He quickly released his two other combatants and showed them the badge. Thank you guys, I won't have got the badge without you. Ash thanked his Pokémon. Bulbasaur lightly tapped Ash with his vine and muttered something, making Ash chuckle. All of us worked together, Ash said, picking up Bulbasaur. Let's go to the Pokémon Center, he said as he rubbed Rhyhorn's head affectionately. Flint looked at the scene with a smile and muttered, to be young and alive again. Ash and his Pokémon were camping in the Viridian Forest, a few miles away from Pewter City. It's been 2 days since Ash won the Pewter Gym, and he and his Pokémon left the city as soon as he got his Pokémon healed. He currently had Charizard, Lucario, Dragonite, Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Rhyhorn, and the ever-present Mewtwo with him. He decided to transfer Ghastly back to Oak's Coral to bring Dragonite over. There were many questions in Ash's mind about Mewtwo. Among those questions, the simplest one would be, why was Mewtwo's Pokeball not transferred to Oak's laboratory? Must be something related to psychic energy, Ash concluded in his mind. Ash looked up at the dazzling night sky and released a long sigh. His journey has been very kind to him. Currently, he and his team were all seated around a campfire enjoying the warmth that it gave out. Charizard was just lying flat on the ground while his head rested on his hands. Next to him, Pikachu was sipping on his ketchup bottle. Rhyhorn was looking at the fire, being lost in his thoughts. Dragonite was lying on the ground in a similar position to Charizard. Bulbasaur sat by the fire with closed eyes, and lastly, Lucario sat in a cross-legged position next to Ash. Ash looked at the fire deep in thought. Suddenly, a red light flashed through Ash's belt and Mewtwo materialized next to the seated Ash. All of Ash's Pokémon were startled by the sudden appearance but quickly calmed down. They doubted Mewtwo would do anything to Ash but still kept their guard up, and Mewtwo took a spot next to Ash. What activity is this? I see you and your Pokémon participate in this activity every night, Mewtwo asked, eyeing everyone around. Ash looked warily at Mewtwo and answered, it's called a campfire. We sit around a fire and enjoy each other's company, Ash said, trying to make as much sense as he can. Mewtwo simply nodded and then suddenly asked, why is it that you weaklings like to train and battle so much? Mewtwo questioned, making the two dragons adopt an equivalent of what is called a Pokémon scowl. They didn't like being called weak. Lucario decided that it was his cue to answer and said, it's because we want to grow stronger and realize our full potential. Lucario simply answered, making Mewtwo scowl. But what is the need? You train every day, yet I can crush all of you present here within a second. That's what makes us different. Tell me, did you ever need to master your powers? It was Ash who asked the question this time. Seeing Mewtwo's doubtful look, Ash said, you've been so strong your entire life that you didn't get to feel the joy of getting stronger. Every night, we sleep with a content heart knowing that I am stronger now than I was a day before. Ash said, and his Pokémon voiced their agreement in their own words. That makes you the same as Giovanni. He tries everything to gain power for his selfish reasons, and you, Ash Ketchum, aren't much different from him. At the end of the day, everyone chases after power. Mewtwo scowled and Ash was left without words. Am I the same as Giovanni? Ash thought, and his worries were silenced immediately as Charizard mumbled a few words. Char. 1 minute later, Char. Charizard said, and Mewtwo nodded with a satisfied look and simply recalled himself. But before he vanished he mumbled, I'll contact you if I need any more answers. Now, Ash Ketchum was able to understand whatever Charizard said to an extent, but there was a limit to the things he could understand, and now, he knew what the limit was. Lucario, seeing his master adopt a questioning look, decided to explain to Ash what Charizard had said. Charizard said, don't compare Giovanni with us since our goal is completely different. Giovanni simply wants power so that he can achieve whatever his goal is. I believe it is world domination like every bad guy is after. We on the other hand want to become stronger for a completely different reason. While Giovanni wants to rule the world, the only thing we want to rule is our respective selves. So that before we die, we can claim that we have mastered ourselves. Lucario explained and Ash's eyes widened. That completely makes sense. Thanks Charizard, I almost started to doubt myself there. Ash smiled at Charizard who gave him a thumbs up. Master myself. Ash had never thought of it this way. So that's how his Pokémon think when they train. I have to master myself before I can become a Pokémon master. With that thought, Ash started pondering on how he can master himself. Unable to find an answer, Ash decided to keep looking for the correct answer. Everyone, release! Ash shouted, releasing all his Pokémon together. Like usual, Charizard and Dragonite came out with a roar. Rhyhorn simply materialized musing some incoherent things. Bulbasaur greeted Ash with a smile and Lucario walked to stand next to Ash. Pikachu ran up to his teammates and then turned towards Ash with a small smile. They were standing near a wide pond. Several bug Pokémon namely Weedle and Caterpie were scattered all around the place. Guys, let's rest for today. Our journey has come a long way, and I've decided that we spent our day in leisure and enjoyment. What do you guys say? Ash said and his Pokémon voiced out their agreements. Dragonite and Charizard directly took towards the sky to have a race, with Charizard losing badly each round. Pikachu and Bulbasaur ran around the field playing tag while Rhyhorn walked towards Ash and nudged his legs making Ash kneel down to greet him. Rhyhorn whined pushing towards Ash. You want to spend time with me? Ash chuckled warm-heartedly, getting an eye smile from Rhyhorn. Follow me, let's get some wood to cook food. Ash said and led Rhyhorn away with him. Lucario walked around the clearing looking for a nice tree. After finding the perfect tree of his suiting, he jumped up to its branch and lied on it before letting sleep take over him. Pikachu seeing Lucario sleeping adopted an evil look in his eye before calling Bulbasaur towards him and whispering something into his ear. Bulbasaur adopted a worried look in his eyes before Pikachu tapped his shoulder and confidently laughed. Bulbasaur seemed to reluctantly agree to what Pikachu was saying and shot his vines at Lucario. He slowly pushed Lucario off the branch and watched as Lucario fell towards the ground painfully. Pikachu started laughing and went rolling on the ground while holding his stomach. Suddenly, he found his surroundings become dead cold in a jiffy. He adopted a shocked look and found himself drowning in the pond. Pikachu panicked before slowly composing himself and swimming to the shore. Pika Pika! Pikachu angrily demanded, making Lucario smirk. If you want to have another round of our wrestling match that we had every night when I was a Riolu, then the ending will be same, with your utter and complete defeat. Bulbasaur simply looked at the exchange with a small worried look. Guys, what are you doing? They heard Ash calling out to them. They turned towards the source of the sound to find Ash walking towards them with a bundle of sticks on his shoulder. Next to him, Rhyhorn had a bigger bundle on his back. Let's make lunch, Ash said and his Pokémon ran towards him, forgetting everything that happened immediately. Charizard and Dragonite glanced at Ash and grunted before continuing their aerial battle. Ash told them to have fun, and they were currently doing what is the most fun thing to do for dragons, fight to show dominance. Both of them threw various dragon and fire moves at each other, trying to overpower the other. Ash sighed at his dragons before getting ready to cook lunch for all his Pokémon and himself. Ash decided that since all of them were having a break, why not have something special and decided on chicken banbanji. Cuz eating Pidgeot or Spearow seems a bit. I leave it to ya guys. His Pokémon gathered around him watching his prepare the food with eyes filled with anticipation, making him sweat drop. So, first, let me boil the chicken. Ash boiled the chicken in some water mixed with soya sauce and sake. Let's cut some tomato while the chicken boils. Ash decided and started cutting the tomatoes with a skillful display of knife cutting. After cutting the tomatoes, Ash found that the chicken was cooked to perfection, so he took it out and kept it to cool down. After the meat cooled down, now, for the hard part. Ash said before he started tearing down the chicken meat with his bare hands. He glanced at his side and saw Rhyhorn drooling at the sight, which made him chuckle. You'll get to eat soon, Rhyhorn, patience. Ash said while chuckling. His Pokémon chuckled too, creating a nice warm environment, which was ruined by two loud roar and two thuds as Charizard and Dragonite came towards Ash. They are asking for food. Lucario sighed, making Ash grin. Wait a few minutes. Ash said, and his dragons whined at him, making him chuckle for the utmost time that day. Ash quickly finished tearing the meat and poured some sesame dressing to the tiered meat before making sandwiches with it and handing it to his Pokémon one by one. Ash didn't even get to eat his share before his Pokémon came for second rounds. Ash smiled at his Pokémon and quickly filled their plates again. After Ash was satisfied that his Pokémon were full, he took out a bottle of orange juice from his bag and he too started to enjoy his meal. Ash felt a tug on his belt and saw a red light materialize out of it. Ash looked at Mewtwo in surprise but saw him eyeing his sandwich, which made Ash smile at him. Ash quickly prepared a sandwich and handed it to Mewtwo, who took it slowly from his hands. Mewtwo sniffed the sandwich for a while before slowly taking a bite from it. His eye widened and he quickly devoured the sandwich just to find Ash give him a second sandwich, which he took, albeit with much enthusiasm than the previous one. I never imagined that a sandwich can be prepared in this way. The chefs of Giovanni always gave me green vegetables to eat. I never expected such an elegant flavor from such a simple slice of bread. Mewtwo exclaimed, making Ash say, "We call it banbanji salad sandwich, isn't it delicious?" Ash questioned and Mewtwo nodded his head. "You have my gratitude for making me taste such a pleasing cuisine." Mewtwo nodded at Ash before he got back into his Pokeball. With Mewtwo gone and all his Pokemon's stomach filled, Ash finally got to enjoy his meal. "I believe we should depart now," Lucario said, making Ash nod his head. "Yeah, I can almost feel the environment changing, it's gonna rain today," Ash said, and Lucario nodded his head. With that, Ash started packing his stuff and got ready to leave the place. He recalled all his Pokémon minus Pikachu and Lucario and started heading towards Viridian City. "Giovanni, I am coming for you," Ash said with a calm look. He was fully ready to crush Giovanni. "Charizard, Lucario and Dragonite have a score to settle against you, Giovanni. We will fight for the final badge today," Ash told all his Pokémon with a serious look. He had Charizard, Lucario, Pikachu, Dragonite, Vaporeon, and Bulbasaur with him. Remember, the gym leader of Viridian City is not only the strongest gym leader but also the leader of Team Rocket. Ash calmly states, "We can only leave this gym if we win. If we lose, our future, and our goals, all of it will be destroyed. I am not letting that happen," Ash said with certainty. "Give it your all." Ash smiled at all his Pokémon. "Let's show him who's the strongest around. We'll make sure we leave the leader's Pokémon in a condition where they can no longer continue to battle. That's the punishment they get for following that thief's command." With that, Ash turned around to look at the giant city of Viridian. One more step, the last step, Ash thought before recalling all his Pokémon except Pikachu and Charizard. Pikachu ran and jumped onto Ash's shoulder with a smile. "Please take me to the gym, Charizard," Ash said as he got on top of Charizard and the three of them flew to the gym. The gym was a giant building with a giant Pokeball on top of it. Charizard landed near the gate and Ash recalled him before going up to the guards. "Name," the guard said without a flinch. "Red," Ash said and noticed the guard's aura shift. The guard nodded and opened the gates before allowing Ash to walk in. He saw Giovanni sitting on the other side of the gym on a throne, smirking at him. "You're finally here, Red. Or should I say, Ash Ketchum," Giovanni smirked, getting a frown from Ash. After his escape, Giovanni used Mewtwo to search for Red's details just to find out that his name is Ash Ketchum. At first, he thought of attacking Ash's family to show him his place but stopped himself when he saw that Ash was from Pallet Town. Of all things, he didn't want to incur the wrath of the legendary Oak, so he decided to wait for Ash to come to his gym. "You scum, I am here to destroy you," Ash calmly stated. He pulled out a Pokeball and threw it onto the battlefield. Out came his mighty Dragonite, who roared after seeing the leader of Team Rocket. "Magnificent, you brought your pseudo-legendary to my doorstep," Giovanni said with a smirk. He released his Raiden, which roared back at Dragonite. "Calm down, Ash," Ash told himself before taking a deep breath. "Dragon Pulse." As he said that, Dragonite fired the strong dragon attack at Raiden, who used Protect to create a barrier in front of him. Suddenly, Dragonite found himself dodging giant rocks that were aimed at him. "Use Aqua Jet." Covering himself in a veil of water, Dragonite shot towards Raiden, who took the attack head-on. Raiden was pushed a few feet back but he wasn't hurt by the attack. A type advantage attack, but still that monster survives. Ash thinks and sees Giovanni smirk. Ash, catch him, I am using my real Pokemon team against you. I usually use my other Pokemon against the other trainers, let's see how you destroy me. Giovanni mocks with a smirk. Don't worry, I am not a monster to throw all my Pokemon at you or once, you'll fight all of my behemoths one after another. Dragonite, Twister. The whole arena was covered by the dragonic energy-influenced tornado. Ash frowned, he could see that Raiden was holding itself in the ground. Right after the Twister ended, Dragonite was hit by a rock, making him groan in pain. Ash's eyes widened as Dragonite was bombarded with several rocks, throwing him to the ground. Hold your ground and use agility to dodge the attacks. Ash let out a breath he didn't know he was holding as he noticed Dragonite dodging the remaining rocks. He needed a plan, he wouldn't be able to beat Giovanni at this rate. The fight was almost even, neither Pokemon had any major advantage over the other. Raiden started moving and Ash frowned, it was preparing for a horn drill. Dragonite, recall. Ash recalled Dragonite and threw Lucario's Pokeball into the arena. Aura Sphere. The Aura Sphere managed to throw Raiden off balance and Ash clenched his hands into a fist and did a small victory cheer. Lu, extreme speed around the field. After Ash said that, Lucario started dancing around the field, creating multiple copies of himself. He saw Giovanni smirk and scowled to himself. Raiden is going to use Magnitude, don't use him any attack. Use Metal Claw. When Ash saw Giovanni smirk, he knew he was about to command his Raiden to use Magnitude. An attack that might affect Lucario deeply, he didn't want to take any risk at this point. Ash saw Lucario hit Raiden in his chest using Metal Claw and sighed. Now for the next attack. Don't give time for Raiden to recover. Use Low Kick. Raiden's eyes widened with pain as he was struck by the move and fell to the ground groaning in pain. Brick Break. Raiden's eyes glowed yellow before Lucario could follow through with his attack and the ground started vibrating before breaking apart. Dodge the earthquake, jump around it. Ash called out and Lucario started dancing around the attack, dodging them effortlessly. He heard Raiden growl angrily and eyed him with a frown. Show him how it's done, earthquake. Destroy the whole field. While Raiden's attack managed to shake the ground and create a few fissures, Lucario's earthquake tore the ground apart and damaged Raiden considerably. Ash saw Raiden struggle to stand up and quickly recalled Lucario. Dragonite, Hydro Pump. Ash threw his Pokeball into the air and watched as Dragonite entered the field with a roar. Without wasting any time, Dragonite shot the powerful torrent of water toward Raiden, who cried out in pain before getting knocked out. Giovanni gritted his teeth in frustration before bringing out a remote with a big red button. He pressed the button and watched as several Pokeballs shot toward the field, releasing several Pokemon in the field. Ash's eyes widened in fear as he looked around at the Pokemon in front of him. There were 13 Pokemon in total, 3 Arboks, 2 Weezing, 2 Raidens, 3 Kangaskhans, the Nidopair, and a Persian. How could he fight so many well-trained Pokemon in one go? Still the despicable person I see. A voice called out, shocking Giovanni. He heard this voice somewhere, from a specific Pokemon. Out of his Pokeball, Mewtwo appeared standing protectively in front of Ash. I am not amused, Giovanni, for you to stoop so low. Mewtwo said with a disappointed look before turning to face Ash. He put his arm forward and created a barrier around Ash and Pikachu. Now, it's time for you, Giovanni. Right as Mewtwo said that, one of the Raiden rushed at him with a growl. With a single snap of his finger, Raiden fell to the ground, dead with a gaping hole in its head. Everyone present here knows that you're no match for me. Giovanni, give this trainer this badge or I'll vaporize you here. The calmness in Mewtwo's voice sent chills down Giovanni's spine. He kept eyeing Mewtwo before tossing a badge towards Mewtwo, who grabbed it before handing it to Ash through the barrier. Ash looked at the badge with a frown, it didn't feel like a win. Giovanni broke the rules by interrupting the match, you win fair and square. Mewtwo said as he sensed Ash's frown. Giovanni, we are leaving for now. But keep this in mind, 1 year later. I'll come back to this place and hunt you down myself. Mewtwo promised as he picked Ash's barrier up and dragged him out of the gym. Giovanni looked at the retreating body of Mewtwo before letting out a sigh of relief. His physic energy had me tied. He would have killed me if I let a single word out. Giovanni took a seat on his throne and wiped the drop of sweat on his brows. Outside the gym, Ash kept glancing at the badge with a frown on his face. I didn't want to win a badge this way. Mewtwo listened to the trainer and eyed him carefully before deciding to speak up. His trainer had a strange unneeded sense of honor. That battle wasn't a battle. Just accept the badge and move on. With his part stated, Mewtwo vanished into his Pokeball, leaving Ash in deep thought. Oh shit, I didn't give Charizard the battle I promised him.